Welcome to the Diary of Discovery, the podcast where we delve deep into the human experience of healing and transformation. I'm your host, Jacky Clark, and each week we will sit down with inspiring individuals who have embarked on their own personal journeys of healing and self-discovery. From overcoming trauma to navigating life's challenges, our guests share their raw and honest stories, offering insights, wisdom, and hope to all who tune in. So grab your favorite cup of tea, find a cozy spot, and join us as we uncover the power of resilience, courage, and the pursuit of authenticity. This is the Diary of Discovery. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm super excited to welcome another wonderful guest this week. We have got the lovely Lisa joining us. So, Lisa, do you want to tell everyone who you are and where you are in the world?
Hi, I'm Lisa Chadwick. I am from Northern Ireland, but I live in London, in North London. I've been here for about 35 years.
Amazing. Okay, so we are here to talk about your healing journey and to talk about your life and share your story. So, do you want to take us back to, if we call it like the start of the journey? Like, what was the moment for you that kind of started your healing journey that made you realize something had to change?
I had been brought up by two teachers. My parents are both teachers, and I thought I was going to have a very traditional career and very traditional life, and it didn't work out like that. I thought I'd have children quite young. I didn't get married till I was in my mid-30s, so I ended up being an older parent. I worked originally in advertising, in media, which was brilliant as a young person, but wasn't really conducive to family life, and was having too much fun to kind of get married and have children. Eventually settled with my lovely husband, and during my first pregnancy, I got made redundant. I had been made redundant from my very first job, which was hugely traumatic at 23, I think. But I had managed to get a job pretty quickly. The job market was really buoyant then, and ended up in a couple of really brilliant jobs. But fast forward kind of 10 years, I was 10 weeks pregnant, I think, when I got made redundant. So I wasn't able to walk into straight into another job. It was in the days when if you were pregnant, you weren't hired. And I didn't really know what to do. I had a legal case on my hands, and it was not the most relaxing start to being a mum. Turning that on its head, I ended up having a fantastic year of maternity leave. I ended up getting, winning my legal case and getting some money out of the company. So I was able to have a nice maternity leave, but I had to go back and look for another job with a young baby and with no kind of maternity pay, all of that kind of backup. So I just kind of started going out interviewing people or being interviewed. Using my contacts, using the headhunters in the advertising industry, because I thought I was going to go back into that. I really, really wanted to go back into a 4-day-a-week role. And 18 years ago, my daughter's 18, that wasn't, you weren't hired if you wanted part-time. If I kept getting down to the last two, and then they'd go with somebody who was able to offer full-time. I then, out of the blue, got a call from a friend of mine who I had worked with in a previous role, who worked at a music company, a live music company, where they had set up a brand experiences department to work with brands to get experiences at music festivals. And she introduced me to the founder, who was looking for somebody who had some digital experience. This is in the kind of early 2000s. And people didn't have a huge amount of digital experience. But because I had the word digital in my job title, I got the job. And I ended up working for 4 years at this amazing live music company, learned a whole new industry, thanks to my lovely friend. And then I got made redundant again while I was pregnant with my second child. This one was an IVF pregnancy. And by this stage, the environment at work had become very, very toxic for various reasons. And I was going off having IVF treatment, sitting crying in the appointments because I was so stressed with work. Got pregnant first time, lost that baby, got pregnant a year later, and then was made redundant. So again, completely different industry, completely different people, completely unconnected, and it was due to cost cutting again. So I didn't know what I was going to do, but luckily an ex-colleague, and I'm going to keep referring back to my network and my ex-colleagues and my friends, was being sent out from her job to set up the company in Hong Kong, and asked me would I consider taking her job for 3 months so that her company had time to hire a replacement. So I did that. So I had a 3-month role, which earned me a bit of extra maternity pay. So that I then had my second child. And again, had to go back in to look for a new job, new industry, use my contacts. Was very lucky to find a job through my network. A guy that had been my client in the music job put me forward for a job in the tech industry, and I got that, but it didn't work out. I was the only parent in the whole organization. It was 10, 12-hour days, 6, 7 days a week, and it was absolutely impossible with 2 small children. So I put a note out to my network telling them that I was looking for a new job before I resigned. And lo and behold, somebody that I'd met in the 3-month contract that I'd done called me up and asked me would I like to be her MD at a creative agency. She'd been really impressed by me. And again, the whole thing keep coming back to contacts, networks, all of that. I had an amazing job there for 4 years. I'm still friends with the founders. And unfortunately, they lost their biggest contract and had to make me redundant. So that was my 4th redundancy. I then hit a real low point. I spent about, no, actually, I didn't. I went then to work. Another friend had introduced me to a client of hers who had a startup who was looking for some support. So I worked with him for I think 2 years. I think COVID just hit. So that was great. I was homeschooling. I was able to work for this startup for a couple of years, 2 or 3 days from home, worked perfectly. And then he ran out of money. So that contract ended. And then that's when I hit the low point. I worked for a few months for a couple of friends, just doing kind of contract work with them, bit of admin, building up their CRMs, a bit of their tech background. And perimenopause hit just at that point. And I kept going for jobs, applying for jobs, not through my network, through LinkedIn, through headhunters, getting down to the last 2 and not getting them for whatever reason. And perimenopause just hit me like a brick wall. And I ended up not knowing that I was not in the right frame of mind to go and get a job. I've got a fantastic GP, fantastic doctor who sent me to a menopause specialist. And this man changed my life. I walked in and there's this amazing, gentle, kind Nigerian doctor called Mr. Fakakundi, and I'll never forget him because he was so kind to me, and he listened to me about how hard I'd found it to get a job and keep a job, and be a good mum and be a good wife. And he just said to me, Mrs. Chadwick, there is value in work, but there is also value in being a wife and a mother and a friend and a daughter. And he says, you've got to reprioritize the way that you think. And I just started crying. He actually had to leave the room because I cried so much for about half an hour. He put me on anti-anxiety medication because he just says, I want you to just get over the next 3 months. He says, but I'll also amend your HRT and whatever else you need. And that was life-changing for me. The fact that somebody had actually listened to me. I did go on the anxiety medication just for 6 weeks. It really helped. And I found another job in that time, again, through a network. A friend of my sister's put my details out on a female founder WhatsApp group, and I got approached about a job where I worked for the last 2 years, and it was absolutely fantastic. Loved the job. But unfortunately, it was a training company, a social organization that uses debate, training kids up in debate to so that they can have skills to be able to go out and find jobs. It's all about social mobility. And unfortunately, funding is being cut left, right, and centre from big corporates. So I got made redundant from there in February of this year. So 5 redundancies later. This time was completely different. In the 2 years that I'd been working there, I had decided that I was going to start trying to future-proof myself. So I did quite a lot of online learning, self-paced learning. I joined an organisation about how to frame yourself as a board advisor. I got a pro bono board advisory position, which I'm still working with, which is an amazing well-being business called Quiet Blue. Anybody, any menopausal women out there, this fantastic South African woman produces non-toxic candles that help with menopause symptoms. They're absolutely beautiful and completely non-toxic. And I set myself up as a limited business when I got made redundant. I found an accountant and I decided I'm going to work for myself. I kept being asked by people, every job that I've had over the last 4, 5, 10 years has been asked by founders or by business owners to come in and help them build systems or get to the next stage of growth. And then I realized I went in and did that, and then they didn't want me to do any more. They wouldn't let me do any more because being a founder, being a business owner, it was quite hard to let go. So I thought, well, why don't I set up a business going in and doing that on a contract so that I'm not made redundant again? People don't have to think that I'll go there, hire me on a full-time job, and I'll just go in and do a contract. So Mr. Fakakundi was life-changing for me. Just getting the right doctor, my friends, my network, pulling out all the stops. A lot of the contracts that I'm working on at the moment are through my network. And it's just been a big life lesson. As you know, you've got to rely on yourself, rely on your friends, keep those connections going, build up those relationships, and don't give up.
Oh my gosh, what a journey. What a journey. 5 redundancies. Like I've had one redundancy and it was horrible. And I started my business off the back of it. I guess it's that level of control, isn't it? To make it not happen again if you are the person who is in control of the situation. I guess like as you were going through each of those iterations, like you've said, some of them were easier than others, some of them had a lot more kind of going on at the same time while you were going through. I mean, IVF in itself is such a huge thing to go through, and such a challenging physical and emotional journey for women to go through, never mind just normal birth and menopause and all of the other things that kind of happened in your journey. Like there's a lot there to unpack. But as you were going through, and I guess getting to the point that you're at now, what do you think you had to understand about yourself or get to know about yourself to sort of have this last redundancy land so differently?
That I was resilient, that I have incredible support around me. I have two amazing sisters. I've got a number of incredible friends, and my mum. My mum brought up 7 kids. I'm the eldest of 7 kids, and just constantly tells us, all 7 of us, how brilliant we are. I mean, we're obviously not all brilliant, but the fact that somebody deaf just believes in us, our mum and our dad believe in us. And I've just started to believe it a bit more that I remember being given an appraisal in a job years ago by somebody who's become very, very successful due to his confidence. And he said, the biggest thing that is going to impact your future career is your confidence in yourself. So I think, and that's really stuck with me. And I think this year, it's just been actually, I am good at what I do. I am liked by people. I can go in and do what I say I'm going to do. If other people are building careers who aren't as capable or as experienced as me, then what have I got to lose? I think the two things are confidence and resilience, being confident in myself and realizing that no matter what happens, there's always another path, there's always a plan B, there's always a way around it, that nothing is completely insurmountable.
Mm, I love that. I think there's two people who always stand out to me when like when I talk about this exact topic of like this resilience topic, and that is Mel Robbins,
Yeah.
who always says, you know, anything that happens today, I can handle it. And that's like her, like you wake up in the morning, you tell yourself anything that happens with any situation, I can handle it. And it's that reprogramming your brain to remind yourself that actually you can handle everything that comes your way. And then Marie Forleo, everything is figure outable.
Oh, haven't heard of
Such
that.
Oh my gosh, honestly, read her book. So Marie Forleo wrote a book, Everything is Figure Outable. And it was such an interesting book that I read quite early on in my business career. And I really think that it made that lasting change, exactly like you're saying now, of actually, regardless of what happens, regardless of how good or bad, regardless of, the situation, where I am, what's going on, I come through 100% of my days, which means I figure out everything that comes my way, which means I must be good at it. So,
Yeah.
let's have that belief in myself and belief in the situation. And I also didn't believe, not like consciously, but was also not massively confident, I think, in going out there and kind of shouting about what I could do. And that really kind of shifted my dynamic of being like, actually, I could say yes to anything because I can figure anything out. And it was just like a really incredible shift, I think, in that mentality. So I can really understand how that could be so beneficial. And I think as women, particularly, that confidence piece is really important because there's a statistic. So my original background was in HR, and I don't know if the statistic is as up to date now, but when I was working in HR, there was a statistic that said, I think it was something like 86% of men will apply for a job that they've got like 60% of the criteria for. Whereas it was something really ridiculous, like 20% of women would apply for the same jobs with the same lack of criteria. So it just shows you like that confidence in yourself to be like, yeah, I don't know everything, but I'll figure it out. Like, is what actually gives men the upper hand a lot of the time because they go for opportunities that they're not ready for. And, like all of these sorts of things. So I think it's a really interesting and really important thing, especially for women to hear, to like have that confidence
Yeah.
and have that understanding that actually you can figure it out, like you can get there.
What's been really interesting as well is friends have sent me jobs, like, job ads saying you could do this. And I look at them and go, what? You think I could do this? Really? And it's been really interesting seeing other people's perspective of what I'm capable of compared to what I think I'm capable of or what I thought I was capable of. Now I've got to the stage if I see something and I think, or if somebody asks me to, so I got approached by somebody who runs a business of consultants, and she approached me about a huge finance project, and she told me about it. And it was, this huge company, they needed this big project doing. And she said, "Do you think you could do that?" And I said, "Yeah." And I came off the call and I said to my husband, she's just asked me if I could do this. And he says, "What did you say?" I said, "No, I can't do that." And he says, "Well, what did you say?" And I said I could do it. I says, "Why not?" I think exactly going back to what you say, why say no when it's a learning process. Every single job that I've gone into after each redundancy has been in a different industry with different people having to build up from scratch. So why do I think I can't do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I literally love that. Say yes and figure it out. It's gonna be fine. It's literally gonna be
Yeah,
fine. It's like the rule of entrepreneurship. Say yes and figure it out. It's all
exactly.
good. So
Exactly.
when you were going through this process, and I know that you spoke like as you were telling your story, you said that there were moments where it was quite difficult, and I think every redundancy is difficult to a certain degree, but obviously a lot of yours happened around the births of your children, like, some sort of like big events as well. And then you said obviously that the perimenopause hit, which obviously was also like another kind of big um catalyst moment. Were there moments where you just wanted to like throw the towel in and you just were
Yeah.
done with it?
Yeah. That's when I ended up going to see the doctor. Because I've always I think it's a real female thing. You just get on with it. You don't have the time to look after yourself. You're so busy looking after everybody else. You're so busy working. You're so busy looking after parents and friends and remembering birthdays and booking holidays and doing whatever that you become last in the line. And it got to the stage where I knew I was going. if I was going into interviews, I wasn't going to get the job because I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I wasn't getting on very well with my husband. I was taking it out on the kids. I was starting to get cross and impatient with the kids, and I just thought, this is not, I've got to do something about this. And like I said, I've got an amazing GP. I'm really lucky because my GP is trained in the menopause. So she knew there was no question about it. And I just got the right doctor at the right time. And I think I was lucky. I've got other friends who have hit really low points through messy divorces, horrific health problems, whatever it may be. And it's other women supporting women being, I don't know what I'd do without colleague friends. I've got universities. Each of them offer me something different at each point in time, for whatever support is needed. And I think that constant support and that constant belief and that constant encouragement, the odd little card, the odd little message just saying, thinking about you and you're amazing and don't forget, whatever it may be. I think those are what you got me through those really difficult points.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like community is such an important piece of the puzzle, and I do think that it's really easy when you're not feeling your best to withdraw from that rather than lean into it. I think it's such a natural instinct to actually lean out rather than in.
Yeah,
And if you've got a really good community around you, and things like just sending people messages every now and again, or just checking in, whatever it is, it really does make a difference. Like it really makes a massive difference. And I think one of the big things I found after I'd gone through depression and come out the other side of it is I became much more conscious of the fact that I can be the person that somebody needs. And I can, so like with my group of girlfriends, like it's not on like a set calendar, but probably at least every sort of 6 weeks, I will send each of them a message that just is like, you're an amazing woman, you're an amazing mother, you're doing so amazing in your job. Like, like I'll just send them a message that's just like super encouraging. Because I'm like, actually, I would have really loved to have had that. Like, I would have really have loved to have had that support from friends and family and the people around you, but actually I wasn't in a place to actually ask for that support. I couldn't articulate what I needed. So I always think to myself, like, everyone's going through something, so actually if I can be that person for other people, like, even if I don't know that they need it, I think it's like it's a real blessing that you can give people.
I really think so. I think so. And my one thing I haven't mentioned actually, throughout all of this, my husband suffers quite badly with his mental health. So I've learned how to deal with that. And I recognize the signs in other people because of that. And I see he's very, very open about it and he talks about it a lot. And he will tell anybody that asks him how he is. And he has found that more people have opened up to him in response. People have talked to him that have never talked to anybody because they've got this grown man talking to them about the issues that he's facing. But seeing how his friends have supported him has made me really, has really impressed me and has made me want to then support other people in the same way that he has been supported and that I've been supported as well.
I love that so much. I think it's such an important thing, especially around men's mental
Yeah,
health, because it gets overlooked so dramatically. My husband suffered with PTSD as well, and just watching him go through that and being so proud of the person he's become,
yeah, yeah,
like it's just really incredible, isn't it? So to
yeah,
actually, and the same thing, like I watch him notice in other people and then
yeah.
have those conversations and be willing to actually check in on people. And it is really, really incredible. And I think it is like once you've gone through that and you've witnessed somebody go through that, it's much easier to pick up on, whether you've gone through it yourself or, a close family member. It's much easier to pick up when somebody else is struggling, or even if they're not struggling, just knowing how to make people feel valued and make people feel kind of like part of the world.
Yeah, and giving them the opening to talk about it, letting them know that you're there for them. I think people aren't always ready to talk about things, but knowing that when they are, if they are, there's somebody they can either just go and sit, not necessarily talk to, but somebody that they can be with, that will understand them. One interesting thing, his boss a few years ago, a long time ago, we'd both worked with this guy for a very long time, and his behavior on a work trip was really, really out of character. And my husband came back very, very angry about it because it had affected him and his relationship with their kind of CEO, I think. And he decided rather than back into the office on the Monday and attack him, he'd go in and ask him if he was okay.
Mm.
And he did that, and the guy burst into tears. And he was going through a divorce. His wife had left it. All this kind of stuff that was going on, but he had reacted in a typically male way, I suppose, going out and getting drunk and behaving badly, and it completely changed their whole relationship. They became a massive support to each other, and they ended up working in 2 or 3 jobs after that together, just because he asked the right question at the right time. And I think, going back to the doctor, it's about, you don't know when somebody will need your support. You don't know when you're whether you're the right, whether asking the question, if asking somebody how they are, you never know what you're going to get back. But you may just get somebody at the right time who may just need you to ask that question.
Yeah, 100%. Oh gosh, I love that so much. So as you've kind of gone through this, and I guess like through your own journey and your husband's journey, because I'm guessing that they're both of them will be quite intertwined. What do you think your biggest belief shift or outlook shift on life has been?
Um, that traditional jobs aren't going to protect you. That the way the world is at the moment is not all about the 9 to 5 permanent role. Every single person I know, every single person, has either been made redundant or left a job because it's been toxic or a bad manager, or they they've become disillusioned, and they're the path that you always thought you might take isn't necessarily going to be that path. Um, I never thought I'd end up working for myself. I never thought I'd end up supporting other founders or women, and it's a big mindset shift. It's a big mindset shift that you have to be responsible for that money coming in every month, your taxes, your pension, all of that, while still trying to run a house and a family and stuff like that. You don't leave the office behind at 5 o'clock in the evening. I know that lots of people email in the evenings and things like that, but when you're working for yourself, it's about never switching off. And I never thought I'd want it, and I never thought I'd enjoy it, but I really am. It's free, and that's not to say if something didn't turn into a full-time contract that I wouldn't consider it. But I think for my stage of life and what I want to do and the way I see my life going in the future, this works for me, and I never thought it would.
I love that. Yeah. I think, again, I think it's that old school mindset of you have to work a job and stay there forever, and like that's just not the way that it works anymore. And I think for so many people, they're in that same boat as you, where they're saying, actually, maybe I'll be self-employed, maybe I'll take a 3-month contract, maybe I'll go back to work for somebody. Like, actually, I'll just pick what's right for me in that moment.
Yeah,
And I always say that like life happens in seasons. So like you have a season where maybe it is great to be self-employed and you are doing the thing and you are loving it and it works really well for you. And then maybe you have another season where you get a job again and you do the thing. And then maybe there's another season where you run your own business again. And
that's
it
brilliant. Yeah,
doesn't have to
absolutely.
be,
I agree
yeah.
that definitely. I came across something earlier this year which has really changed the way that I think. And it sounds very woo-woo. I don't know if you've ever heard of human design.
Yeah.
I'm not very woo-woo, but I came across this Australian girl, Jules Fideli, who calls herself on LinkedIn and Substack the portfolio careerist. And she bases, her a similar experience to me, not redundancies, but just got disillusioned with the corporate world and has built up this business helping other women set up their own portfolio careers based on their human design profiles. And I did a bit of research on human design, put in my profile, which is basically your pace, date, and time of birth. And it gives you, your profile and the things that light you up for work and how you work within relationships and all these kind of things. And I do think there's certainly a power of suggestion in that, but my profile came out as having overcome many challenges throughout my life and now using those challenges to support other people and to teach other people. And I think that was quite integral into that mindset change because I'd never thought about it. I'd always thought, God, I've either been really unlucky or, you know, it was down to me. There was a reason I'm the person that kept getting made redundant. And this made me think, actually, no, maybe it was all supposed to happen. Maybe this was the path that was destined for me. And now I can help other people deal with those similar situations.
Yeah, I have heard of human design. I've had my profile done
Have
before as
you?
well. And I do think, yeah, I do think like again, I agree. Like there's obviously, with all of these things you can read into it, your subconscious brain does the thing,
Of
doesn't
course,
it?
of
But
course.
at the same time, like I I also found some real kind of, oh wow, actually, I hadn't thought of it like that. And I think that anything, regardless of whether it is woo or not, or spiritual, or however you want to phrase it, I think if it gets you thinking differently and in a more positive way and moves you forward, then as long as it's not hurting you or anybody else, like that's okay. Just,
Absolutely, absolutely. And
okay.
I've told quite a few people about it. I'm actually doing a contract with a guy at the moment. And this is about networking and about going back. And I keep going back to this about building connections with people. In one of my previous jobs, we were downsizing our office and I hired a letting agency to help me look for a new office in London. And I've become friends with the letting agent, the guy that was the letting agent. He now runs his own property tech business and I'm working for him doing some business development. And this is, 6 years later, we have become really good friends. We really like each other. But I was telling him about it and he went straight home and built his profile together. He thought it was fantastic. And it shows that we work really well together, his profile and my profile. So you never know. You never know. Some people might think it's ridiculous, but I found it, like you say, it helped me think in a different way and think about, well, this is all that's happened to me. How can I use it now going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And I guess like so you have spoken a lot about this kind of network, and like it sounds like you've got an incredible network, which is amazing. What would your advice be for somebody who is going through, say, a similar situation? Maybe they are wanting to leave the corporate world, maybe they've been made redundant, maybe they're in menopause, maybe they're having a baby. There's a wide scope here that you can talk into, which is wonderful. But like, what would your advice be for somebody who is maybe just not feeling like life's working at the moment?
Get out of the house and go and see people. Go and see people in the flesh. Go and see people for coffees. Go and people for lunch. Uh, Whatever it may be. I find, a lot of us work from home at the moment. I can do 2 or 3 days from home, and then I have to get out and see people. And every time I go out and see people, you come back buzzing, or a bit more upbeat. I do careers talks in schools, and I tell every single child that I meet, student, they're usually in their teens, to treat every conversation with somebody as an opportunity, whether that's just to have an interesting conversation, whether that's to be put forward for a job, whether it's to get an introduction to somebody. You just never know. And I have found the most incredible coincidences with people, complete strangers, just by having a conversation and being interested in them and talking to them. My boss in my last job was exactly the same. She ended up winning business from people that she sat beside on a plane, complete strangers, numerous times. Or she'd be sitting at a concert with her kids and she'd be talking to somebody about her job, and somebody would tap her on the shoulder and ask more about it. And I think it's just being open to, you never know where those contacts are going to come from. I went for a walk with my neighbor. Our kids go to school together and we get on very well. And she asked me to go for a walk in the sunshine in April this year. And I told her I'd just been made redundant and I was thinking of working for myself and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And she goes, "Oh, I'll give your CV to my husband." And I ended up doing a 2-month contract with him, just helping his finance team and his operations team with some back office stuff. But that 2 months just got me through. And I never thought when I went out for a coffee or with her or a walk with her that would come from it. And I think when I got the times I've been made redundant, especially in my early days when I hadn't worked in very many industries and my network wasn't as big, it was friends, it was colleagues, it was all sorts of people. There's I follow a lot of fractional. There's a lot of people starting up fractional businesses, as in fractional job sites and things like that. And I saw a blog post a couple of weeks ago about how to use your LinkedIn network to find jobs or find work or to connect with. I think it was to find jobs actually, because a lot of people obviously are in the job market at the moment. And there's a way you can do it. I'm not going to go through the LinkedIn process now, but you can extract all of your LinkedIn connections. And then this job said put them in a grid. First, these people you know really well and you can meet up for a coffee. These people you don't know very well, but they might be worth all these different categories, so that you can categorize it and then make yourself go out and email 5 people a week, go out and speak to somebody every couple of, go out and have 2 or 3 coffees a week. I'm a real believer in picking up the phone as well. I got a phone call with an ex-colleague of mine, and she's just started a new job, and we can't get home. We keep texting each other, and she was on her way to a meeting yesterday. And she just picked up the phone and says, "I just thought I'm going to ring you." We had a 10-minute conversation, which was just brilliant. And both of us have now got introductions that we can make to each other just from that little conversation in her new job. So I think that's it. Get out of the house, see people, talk to people, and you'll never know what ideas will come from them about job opportunities. Like we said about the human design, or you've been made redundant, you never know what somebody will say to you will spark in you a new idea.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I think human connection it's such an important part of life. And in the world that we live in now, where everything can be done on a phone or an email or a social media platform, from a screen in a house, there is such a need for human connection and to actually get out and have those conversations. And I do think that it is actually such a superpower skill for people who are willing to actually do that work and go places and speak to people. Like, it does bring so much opportunity. So I think that is, yeah, that's really incredible. I like that. And then our final question of the podcast. We love ending with this question. It's my favorite one every time. But what is your next level of healing? What are you focusing on for yourself and your onward journey?
I think there's two ways to think about it. The first one is to stop being scared to promote myself. I think we all have that. I don't know anybody that doesn't have that. That feeling that you get when you post on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever it may be. And I think again, this girl Jules, the human design expert, is about promoting yourself in the way that aligns with your human design. You don't. We can all tell on LinkedIn if somebody's done a LinkedIn course. I can tell immediately if somebody's just come off a LinkedIn course. I'm seeing even in the last 2 or 3 days, there's a lot more graphics. I don't know if my algorithm is showing me because I've liked one, but lots of people are now designing things in in graphics. I don't think those are very authentic. I think it's got to be either telling people something or announcing something, but it's got to be authentic to you. And then the other thing is getting rid of my scarcity mindset. Because of all the redundancies, I've always been a real saver because I've never known what's coming next. And I think I've got to let rid of that mindset of always being scared of what if and just, as you, what was it? You said everything is figure outable, I think you said, that things are just going to work out. There's always a plan B, and stop being scared of the financial future because it will work out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting. Whenever people say what if, you always like the concept of what if is like this doom spiral, isn't it? Like you can what if yourself all the way down to the ground because you can think about all the things that are going to go wrong. And something that I always teach my clients is what if in the other direction?
Yeah.
Because what if is already a habit, like it's already a habit for us. So actually, rather than trying to stop it completely, we actually use it to our advantage and we go, oh, but what if this thing went really well and then this thing happened and then this amazing thing and we just actually do it in the opposite direction. It gives you such a different energy shift. Like it gives you such a different way of showing up when you use it in a really kind of strategic and positive way.
Yeah. And I think if you think positively, it impacts everything. It impacts your mindset, it impacts the way people perceive you, it impacts your behavior, everything. So you start to attract more positive things happening to you. I mean, it's the whole gratitude Mel Robbins thing, isn't it? But I do believe that. I think the more positive you are, it's easier to get out of bed in the morning, and it's easier to to find the positives in your life because we all do have positives. As we call them, I've got a group of very close girlfriends, we call them the glimmers. Look for the glimmers. Every day, have a look for a little glimmer.
Oh, I love that so much. I think like a lot of people think that this idea of like, positive thinking is, very woo and very spiritual. And actually, it's completely bedded in science.
Yeah.
Like the way that our brains work, because we process so much information, our brains have got a filter system. And that filter system says we can only focus on the things you've told us are important
Yeah.
because we physically can't take in everything. We can't take in every single movement and every single sound. Like we just cannot as humans. So when we say to our filter system, everything's going to go wrong, so we're always looking for threat, our filter system goes, cool. Anything that's good can be parked because it's not important to you. What we're going to focus on is everything that could possibly go wrong. And then that's all you see. That's all you look for. And then in the exact same scenario, if your filter system is saying, there's always an opportunity. I'm always going to find a glimmer. It's always going to be good. There's always going to be something, exciting to look for. Suddenly, there's a shift, and suddenly that's what you're finding. And it's such an interesting thing because so many people are like, oh, yeah, positive thinking, and they just kind of like brush it off. But actually, your brain is wired to focus on the things that you focus on. So if you do exactly like you're saying, focus on that positive or look for the glimmer or look for, I mean, Mel Robbins always talks about finding the heart, like you can
Oh
find the
yes, yeah,
heart
yeah. No,
every
I have
single day.
listened to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so funny because I still like, I used to do the whole like Mel Robbins heart thing years ago. And I still to this day will see hearts in random places. I'll see a stone that looks like a heart or, a leaf or like just like I see it
Oh,
all
I
the
love
time.
that. That's brilliant.
It's so good. And like it's like I've programmed my brain to just see love wherever I am. So I'm always looking for it. I'm always like tuned in to there's always got to be something good in every relationship, in every situation. Like, and other people will see maybe sarcasm or cynicism or, something else. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't see that. Like, and
Yeah.
even if it's there, I don't want to see it. Like, I'm not interested. It's not going to make my life better. I'm not interested. And I think like that's the thing, when you really sit with your mind and say, actually, I'm going to be really intentional about what I focus on and what I give space to, it changes everything, which I think
Yeah,
is, it's really important.
I do. And I'm not a big fan of the word gratitude or grateful. I don't agree. I find it too, I don't know, just don't like it very much. But I think it's very different to just, it's the glass half full, isn't it? It's just, I remember somebody saying to me about a relationship, a marriage, if it's, no matter how bad things get in your marriage, if it's 51% good versus 49% bad, it's worth fighting for. And I've never forgotten that. I think that's the same in everything. In your whole life, if things are more positive, that if you look for the positives, you'll find more positives. And if things are more positive than they are negative, then it's worth fighting for and it's worth sticking with. Sometimes it's not that easy, but there's always a little reminder, isn't there? It's, a kid's laughter or a bird singing, all the cliches, but they do that. They are the little glimmers.
Oh, absolutely. I love glimmers. That's going to be stealing that. I love it so much. Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and, giving your wisdom to other people. I think that this is really, really incredible.
Well, thank you for having me, Jackie. It's been really lovely.
Thank you for listening to another inspiring episode of The Diary of Discovery. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends, family, or anyone else you think might benefit from the stories of hope and transformation. Your feedback means the absolute world to us, so please take a moment to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your reviews help us to reach even more listeners and continue to bring this meaningful content to the world. Until next time, remember, your healing journey is valid. You are never alone, and you have the strength to get through this. Keep shining bright, and we'll see you in the next episode of The Diary of Discovery.